Will AI wipe me out as a photographer? I believe if you're a photographer, the answer is yes. If you're a difference maker photographer, the answer is no.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Difference Maker Revolution podcast. You're very welcome to this episode where we have Janine, Steve, and Ronan and Jonathan. The four amigos are back in action, and today we're going to a funeral because RIP business of photography. Photography is dead as a business. All right, Ronan?
John, you really like to set that up, don't you?
That was a fast intro.
That was a really fast. It's straight to it. There's no messing around here. I thought we were doing with AI replacing as a photographer, but I suppose they're both linked, right? So I think Jonathan's trying to set me up, Steve and Janine, for something I shared many times, but in the not too distant past, I used AI to help me create a graphic of a tombstone that said RIP, the business of photography. So I think that's what Jonathan is trying to bring up in his subtle fashion.
Before we scare too many people off, just for the record, the Difference Maker Revolution has always said that we're in the business of people, not the business of photography. So don't worry, all you difference makers are safe. Just photographers are screwed, right?
Is that like their superhero cape and shield to protect them?
You're not allowed to use bad language, Jonathan. They'll ban this podcast.
Is that bad language?
Well, that word that will be bleeped out when it's when it released. Just imagine what Jonathan has said.
I don't know whether we do bleeps or not. Do our editors do bleeps, do you think? Bleep.
You don't honestly believe that, though, do you, Ron?
Honestly believe what, Steve?
That photography is dead.
So it depends how you define photography, Steve, doesn't it? It depends what your definition of photography is. So will humans crave visual stimulation for whatever reason that might be? So at Difference Maker Revolution, we know what it's about, right? It's about discovering what somebody secretly wants and providing an experience that creates photography that triggers that emotion, right? So for those photographers, and that's why it's funny, Steve, like you've been teaching this for a number of decades, right? And
only two, don't make me too old.
And well before, well before AI was even on the radar, right? And it's funny, like I've been talking about this as well for many years before I even met you, in terms of, that there's something wrong with the photography industry, because so many photographers make it about themselves and the art and photography. And like we were talking about somebody even this week, Steve, while you were doing the workshop in Glasgow, and Janine was mentioning someone she owns who's going to a week-long Corel Draw program on how to do brushed artwork. I may have got that wrong, Janine, right? You can just fix that up a little bit. We're not going to mention the person, but they're going, and this same person we know has been talking about they're struggling with business, and that business is tough, but they're going on a week-long course on how to do Corel painting, right, to make a photo into look like painted artwork. And we're going, really? Really? Like AI will do that like that. You can upload the photograph to AI and go, do this for me, and it'll be done. Like our tech team, had a meeting with our tech team just before we went live in this podcast, who was telling us that they've just discovered an AI which is going to cause difficulty for property videographers using drones. Because he showed us a new AI, told us about a new AI, where you can present a photo and to turn it into a drone reel of the property.
It's pretty awesome, really.
That is actually really cool. I'm not going to lie. That's really cool.
So, and the thing about it, guys, is like, like if you look at the transition from analog photography to digital photography and how that's progressed, and to the equipment we have today. And that took decades, right? AI is tomorrow, it's out of date. What you learn today is out of date tomorrow.
I just finished that course, Ronan. Come on.
So the short answer to your question is, Steve, and on our meeting last night with our members, this came up, right? And a lot of photographers, and one of our members was using headshots, right? As a way to attract people in, to then upsell them to a branding session, to then get them in for a family portrait, high school senior, hairdress, which is great, right? But the point I was making to her is that as an overall strategy will be dead in 5 years, if not before that. Because
I don't think it's going to take 5 years.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to take 5 months. Right? I didn't want to frighten people completely. But like, it's already there. The ads are already out there. Upload a photo of yourself and we can put you in any number of outfits at any number of locations and you will have a photo. But that also applies to what we see for high school senior photographers, Steve, in that, like we're talking last night about the high school senior photographers with their smoke machines and their, all of that. I can't say a bad word, but it starts with bull.
Stuff.
Yeah.
Just say
it starts
stuff.
with bull. and the photographer, so many even high school senior photographers that I see, that's their value proposition to the high school senior. You're gone. If that's your value proposition, you're gone. So, Steve, I think you should talk about how, as a difference maker photographer, right, that you can transcend this threat and actually turn it into an advantage.
Well, I missed these last couple of nights because I was at the workshop in Glasgow, and when at the beginning of the week, I think people came in I think they booked this workshop because they were worried that their sales were going to fall because of what is happening with AI. And over the course of the three days, you could just see them light up and forecasting multiples of what they thought that they would be earning, because the realization that AI cannot replace those conversations and can't replace the way that we can help people rediscover themselves. And the realization, like 4 of them came up to me and said, I've been in this for 20 years, and 20 years I've been looking and I didn't know what the missing piece of the puzzle was for me. I knew there was a missing piece of the puzzle. And this was it. They finally found the missing piece of the puzzle, in that part of what we do is to help people rediscover themselves and help people reconnect with people that they love, help them find that missing part of themselves that they want to rediscover. And it's not about creating an effect or creating something with AI. These are real conversations that we're having with people. And as a difference maker, this is what we are all about, is having authentic conversations. And the world is craving this. The world is craving a sense of belonging. I read, only this morning, Alex sent me some of his notes because we're going to be running the sales challenge. And part of the sales challenge, is we're going to be teaching some of this. So, when Alex sent me his notes, the client, he put a note in that the client came up to him at the end and said that my husband is highly autistic, and she was scared that he wouldn't she was okay. She knew she could get him to the session, but thought he'd walk out because he doesn't relate to people. And so he struggles with being around people. And the fact that he was called, he was made to feel welcome. She said that it made him feel like this entire session made him feel like he finally belonged. And that's incredible for someone who his whole life is now in his 40s, has never felt like he could belong. And that's what photography, and everybody's got their thing, okay? It's not that we got to make every single person feel like they belong, because everybody's got some part of them that they're looking for. And for this couple, it was it was a pet photography session where he was photographing 2 cats, but he also he did cats and their humans. And it was incredible that this client came up and said, I've never seen my husband interact with another human being. And the fact that he stayed and said that it's the first time he felt that he belonged, that's incredible for someone.
So what you're saying, I think, is that difference makers are infusing what's important to clients into the photos rather than trying to convince people of the quality of the photographs of themselves.
I think it goes deeper than that, Jono. I think it's difference makers are helping people feel as though they're valuable enough. First, we have to help people find their value. And helping them feel valuable enough to be photographed. And then those photos are saturated with all of that meaning. And that becomes an anchor. That becomes something that somebody can remind themselves of whatever it is that they've had to discover. And the spotlight has shifted, or for a difference maker, is shifted away from who we are as a photographer and the smoke screen, the smoke machines, and the brush strokes and all that stuff to the client, and shining a light on that part of themselves that they want to rediscover.
So Janine, you've been in the photography industry for a long time, right? You look very, very young, by the way. You don't look.
Thank you. I was going to say, don't age me like you didn't age Steve.
Yeah, he talks about moving into decades, right?
I just joined last year when I was a teenager.
So Janine, like, as somebody who has lived and breathed this industry for so long and seen so much happen, like, what's your reaction to all that you see with AI?
Well, it's interesting because, I'm a techie at heart, right? So this falls right into my love of tech. But no, it's interesting because there's been so much change in my lifetime as running a photography studio. I started film and went to digital. And that transition was fast but slow. You didn't have to switch in the beginning if you didn't want to switch. People switched, people didn't switch. It was like, it was a slow transition to the point where everybody pretty much switched. But it took years, decade, for people to make that switch. And then you saw, like, there's always been these slow changes, just like with everything in all businesses. And I think originally people thought that this was going to be slow, right? That this was going to be a slow change. I could adapt. I don't need to adapt. We talked about it last night, right? Like, we'll just write it out. I'm going to continue doing the way I do it until I retire or whatever. I don't think that's a choice, honestly. I think this is changing so fast, and that those who love to learn and those who love to serve their clients and those who understand their why, I think will be fine, because they'll learn how, like, you have that love of learning to learn how to adapt, right? I think you're going to have to learn how to adapt, or you're going to be left behind. I really do. I really think you'll be left behind if you don't adapt and you don't use the tools that have been put before us, even if it's just a matter of being able to keep up with what clients expect. Like, for example, speed, right? We talk, people's expectations of what you can do and how fast you can do it has changed. The whole, it takes me 8 to 12 weeks to deliver something because it's art. Oh my gosh, no one's going to book you anymore. Like, it's just, that used to be the case, and that used to mean quality. It doesn't mean quality anymore. I ordered something from Amazon last night and it was on my doorstep before I woke up. I ordered it at 11:30 at night for James's birthday. It was on my doorstep. No, I shouldn't say that out loud. I'm a mother. I have planned for weeks for his birthday party. I would never order anything last minute. But but is it any less quality because I got it so fast? No. Right. And so people's expectations are changing with AI. And so our ability to deliver and provide a service has to change as well. And so I think people will be left behind if they're not open to the idea that they have to make a difference for their clients. They have to focus on that, not the specific art in the photography. Or I think they're going to be left behind. Do you still have to do Steve does this incredible course and we have challenges on it on cropping and culling and really making the impact with the image and telling the right story and bringing forth the emotions for the client that we had in the discovery calls. Do you have to do all of these things? Yes, of course. You do. But if you don't adapt to the way things are changing and you don't keep your foot on the pedal to go along with it, then you're not going to be doing it for any clients. So that's my feeling.
It's funny you should say that, Janine, because at the workshop, there was a couple from Edinburgh, and they were saying that there's lots of studios all around them just closing down. And before the workshop, they were really worried because they thought it was a sign of the times. And during the workshop, it hit them that this is an incredible opportunity for them.
It is an incredible opportunity.
They're embracing what we're teaching, and they're already seeing a shift where their clients want this because they've been part of the inner circle, and so they've already started this movement even before they came to the workshop, and they've realized that this is reducing all the competition that they imagined that they had, and that it's going to be a period of abundance for them, and it is.
And it is. And what I love, and we've talked about this as far as productivity goes, the way I view AI is it takes away the menial tasks of the things that we have to do, like retouching, culling, like all these different, like a lot of these things that take so much time and it's menial and it doesn't really require us, right? It's the first thing that Ronan always taught that people should outsource, right? Doesn't need you. So if you look at AI as a way of getting rid of all these tasks that doesn't need you, then guess what? It frees you up to do the things that only you can do, which is relate to your clients and have the conversations and learn about, like all of these things that only we can do as humans. Let the AI free up our time because that's what we are all short on, right? Like we're all short on time. That's how I view it. Like, how can I streamline and use AI to make everything else done so much faster so I can focus on only what I can focus on and only I'm good at? And that's the relationships with my clients.
But Janine, does that mean it's going to take away my excuse of, but I had so much retouching to do, I don't have time to call my...
I don't have time to call my clients. I was in Photoshop for 8 hours yesterday.
I'm serious, Janine. When you say to people, you need to be calling your clients, you need to connect with your clients. Often there's this, I'm too busy. Because it takes me so long to prepare files, and it's removing that excuse where we don't have that excuse. I was speaking to somebody the other day, and they're taking 10 hours to retouch files to prepare for a client to come in before they order. So the shoot's 3 hours. The retouching before they've even sold a photo is 10 hours. So there's 13 hours. Then there's the time, to book them and go through the emails and all that sort of thing. It's not possible for them to be able, to make a living out of this if, you're already at 15, 20 hours just for one client. And then they have to retouch the photos again after the clients because they haven't done a full retouch.
So my question when I hear stuff like that, Steve, is always why? Like, why do they do that? And the only thing I can conclude from talking to many photographers like that is that for some reason, they've attached their own personal value to their ability to use Photoshop. Right?
Nobody can retouch like me.
Nobody can retouch like me.
It is what you hear a lot of. Nobody can retouch like me.
And they think that that's where the client, the consumer, sees the value.
Well, they've been sold on the idea that the longer the client has to wait, and the more time it takes, the more value they're giving. But we're not seeing that when it comes to a client's, let's call it appreciation. Because, when a client truly appreciates what you've given them, they'll reward you. And they'll reward you by wanting to display artwork on your walls and wanting to reward you and pay you for that. And we're not seeing a correlation between how long somebody has to wait. Actually, it's probably in reverse. And how much time you're putting into actually physically retouching something. It's probably inversely proportional. And Janine was talking about how fast people want things. Come all those critical days, like Christmas, like Mother's Day, people's birthdays, because we always did instant design consultations or viewings for some people. We were photographing right up to, the 20th for Christmas, 5 days before Christmas, and still getting things back because our turnaround time was so good. It opens up a lot more opportunity when everyone else is shut down. It means that those last minute people, and of course every mother's been planning for her birthday for months before.
Months before.
It means that those people who don't think of it until last minute can still come in and still have a great experience and still be able to walk out knowing that they're going to have something in time. And AI is going to help us become even more efficient and open up more opportunities for those people that embrace that.
So I think what I'm hearing is that with the right mindset, that AI can be a great companion and helper and tool and can really help elevate our business by helping us make us more efficient. But if we are focused on selling photography, AI is going to replace us with photographers.
Well, I absolutely believe that. So, if I talk to 10 photographers, 9 of them are what I call a photographer's photographer. What do I mean by that? I mean that they look for their validation from their fellow photographers. And it's all about the photography rather than making it about their client. So when we started this podcast and we said, will AI wipe me out as a photographer? I believe if you're a photographer, the answer is yes. If you're a difference maker photographer, the answer is no. But here's the other thing that I think we need to consider. And I want to zoom out. Really zoom out now at this stage, right? And my question to you guys is this. So the consumer has a perception of what a photographer is. And if 99% of photographers are photographers, right? Do we need to reposition what difference makers do and drop photography? And it's really interesting because I had a conversation with one of our clients a couple of weeks ago, and they brought this up. I didn't actually bring it up for once. They brought it up, right? And they said, Roland, we're thinking of rebranding. And I went, really? So what are you thinking? We don't think that photography is right for what we do now. It's a medium to achieve the end result, but we think that we need to change the brand, that we don't appear to our potential clients as photographers because they have a view as to what photographers are, which we just discussed, our photographer. So I'm really interested in what you guys think of that.
It's interesting. It's almost like what we did with Forever Sessions for wedding clients, where they were shooting or photographing engagement sessions and people weren't valuing it or expecting it for free. But when we rebranded it as a Forever Session, suddenly that thing that nobody would pay for, people are now spending $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 for. And it's still an engagement session, but the way it's done is the focus is completely different. And so I think it's an interesting question. I agree, because realistically, photography is about, we are in the business of people, right? If we think we're in the business of photography, then we're struggling, because really we're in the business of people and helping people rediscover what's important to them. And so it's interesting. I think it's I would do it.
I'll come in with a thought on this, because I lived through a cycle before where everybody got into this, we're not photographers anymore, we're artists. And they all wanted to rebrand as not photographers, but portrait artists. It was still about them. Right? So I would caution, do I agree that maybe it's not about Yeah, it's like Steve said, it's about the business of people. But if people are thinking that, I think they need to look at it, though. You can't just change the name with it out the reason behind it being the right one. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Because if you're just changing it to still have the focus on you, just a different medium, you're going to still have the same problem, which is why those who changed to portrait artists, it didn't make any difference.
Absolutely.
But we see that when I see it in the workshops when people are surrounded by people that are highly successful in pet photography or highly successful in boudoir, and that photographer then does it for the wrong reason, does it for the money. They don't truly believe in it. Then they don't speak dog. They don't like dogs, and they're doing it for the money. And unless it's authentic, and unless it's a passion, and unless you speak dog, it's never going to work. And so you're absolutely right that it can't just be a mask to mask to mask what you do and just call it something different. There needs to be a shift, and it needs to move towards an authentic
space
movement.
Yeah.
So let's just zoom out again further, right? Because you hear business strategists and marketing strategists and all talk about things like service categories or product categories, right? So like there's various different names for different categories of offerings to a client. Is there any category that comes into any of your minds that if we were going to move it from a category of photography into another category, has anyone any thoughts as to what that might be?
I know you do. Do you want to give everyone your answer for you? Are you afraid to?
Be afraid on this topic, really, Jonathan? I'm just curious. Has anyone else got any ideas?
No, don't tell us, because it would be good to hear. I don't know what it is. I don't know if Janine knows what it is. It'd be interesting to hear what other people hear before, because I'm still thinking about it.
I know it, so I can't speak. So Steve, you're going to have to give your idea.
That's not fair. Everybody's in the know except for me. Where was I when this discussion happened?
You were there. You just weren't listening. Selective hearing. Dig deep, you'll find it.
It's mental well-being. It's mental well-being.
Yeah, but it's that, for me, that's a niche of a category, Steve. It's absolutely a subcategory of a main category. But for me, it's wellness.
Yeah.
Right. And wellness covers everything from your Fitbit, like all the way through to professional therapists, which is not what difference makers photographers are, to everything in between, right? Including what you've just talked about there, as therapists or as what do you Americans go to all the time, Janine? I haven't met an American yet who doesn't have one.
A therapist or psychiatrist?
Is that what you call them?
Wait.
Okay, so a therapist.
But therapist,
yes, for therapy.
Does your cat have a therapist, Janine?
My cat has me.
So for me, one possibility, and it's only a possibility, is that we move into the wellness sector, right? But here's an interesting thing about moving into any sector: is it growing? Is the sector itself growing, right? Because you talk about most businesses that are successful, they ride a wave of change that they don't start, right? It's really hard and takes a lot of money and many, many years to create that wave yourself, right? But if you can see a wave and you can ride that wave, right, that's always a good thing. Mike Michalowicz talks about that too, right, Janine? And I can't remember which book it is now, but
he does.
Won't go there now. So what is that wave that you can ride? And wellness, if you look at the projections for the wellness sector as a totality, like it's growing rapidly, and the projections are that it's only going to continue to grow. And it goes back to what you were saying a little bit earlier, Steve, about people are craving wellness.
Yeah. And we've seen some of our members work with professionals in the wellness area, in that they've come in for their own photographic experience. We've seen, a few members work with marriage counselors who run weekend retreats for couples, and they've come in thinking they're coming in for a photo shoot or a branding session, and they've come away saying, this is so much more. And they've approached the photographers to make this as an extension of what they do. So everybody that goes to the retreat, they're buying a certificate from the photographer to give to their clients, because these therapists who are running retreats see this as a complementary, almost celebration of what they've achieved, and a continuation. And that piece of the puzzle that was missing, in that this now becomes an emotional anchor for them to remind themselves of the progress that they've made, and the change, and what they're committing to now.
So, Jonathan, we could talk for hours and hours and hours and hours. I know we're going to be done over. So, I've been listening to this. I want to know more. I'm really interested. What do I need to do?
Well, Ronan, you have two choices. So choice number one, you can stay in the business of photography, RIP, rest in peace, nice knowing you. Or choice number two, you can become a difference maker and transition into the wellness industry and start making a difference in people's lives. And to learn how to do that, join the Inner Circle. So all you have to do is click the link below, sign up for the Inner Circle today. We'll help you become a difference maker, and you will not only survive, but you will thrive. And you still get to take photos.
Look at you throwing in that little bonus.
I think we'll be back to this subject pretty soon. Bye for now.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Hasta luego.